Hey everybody, it's Andrew Brown and welcome to another video. So we are getting started here, and what I've done is I have made a copy of the template for your starting project. You know that you have made a copy if it says generated from this address under here. Make sure you do not fork the original one. Make sure you are copying the template. We have a video on how to do that, so that should be done correctly. Make sure this name is correct, Terraform Beginner Bootcamp 2023. It really does matter, because when we come to doing the validation, if you're trying to get a badge or grading, and if you do not enter this incorrectly, we may not issue you a badge. What I noticed from prior boot camps, folks that messed up this tended to indicate more problems down the road, because this is such an easy task to do. You should not have this incorrect. Okay, so just make sure you're doing that and you're generating from the template. If you attempt to fork, or which a lot of people do, or they just try to open up the current project, the Exam Pro here, they start trying to push their code, they're getting errors, they don't know why. It might be the way you're setting up that template. So I just want to issue that warning before we proceed forward. And so I want to get you set up with a few things. Probably the first thing is just to go through the workflow of branching, tagging, and PRs. Last bootcamp, we did not do that, or we did it a different way. And so we've learned from our mistakes, and we know the best way to do it going forward. It's also just the way you'll probably be doing it on the job when working with other engineers or developers. And so I want to make sure that we do that right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my repository here in Gitpod. Strongly recommend that you use Gitpod for the duration of this bootcamp. It's just way easier to use, and we should be able to stay into the free tier. You can use other solutions, but you will have to figure it yourself to replicate the same things. So I'm going to go ahead and open up a new workspace. And so just so you know, for Gitpod, the way I got that button, if you're wondering, is there is a Chrome extension. So if you look up Chrome extension, Firefox extension, it will add it there in those stores. Very easy to get, very convenient to use. But anyway, my environment has now launched up. And, on the left-hand side, we have our source control over here, and we are in the main branch. So there's a few different ways that we can create branches. We are going to be basically making feature branches. So we're going to say, what is it that we're working on? And we're going to create a feature branch for it. This is going to help me focus the videos, because otherwise, if I don't have these feature branches, I will make hour-long videos, and then you have to kind of parse through all that stuff. So the idea is we want to create branches. I'm going to just zoom in here so it's a lot easier to see. I'm going to just shrink my head here. And this really is just going to be about tagging and branching. So what I want to do is create a new branch. So we're going to type in git checkout -b. So checkout would normally, you're checking out a branch, but -b would be to create a new branch as you check it out. And so we have to decide on what we're doing. I want to update the documentation to talk about tagging and semantic versioning, because that's what we're going to be utilizing. And so if you've never heard of semantic tagging or versioning, there's a website for it here, and it basically follows this format. And you've probably seen it and just did not know that it was called semantic versioning, but it's where you will see something like 200, 200-RC, which stands for release candidate or beta. So there's a standard for all of this. We are going to use it in the simplest sense. We're going to have a major, a minor, and a patch. These descriptions are okay, but the way we're doing it is that when we have something major, like let's say before we even get this project done, we are in the zeros. Some folks like to start at 1 when they start a project. I like to start at 0. And when the project is generally available or launched and in production for your MVP, then I mark it as 1. And then the only time the major will change is if you have a major rewrite that's not backwards compatible. So for the most part, we're going to be incrementing the minor. Patch will be if we have to apply bugs or things like that. So we'll do our best to tag and to branch, and then we'll keep things very organized. And I'll talk about some of the things that that would normally happen if you're working for a company, but we might not be doing because we're trying to keep files around, or it's just different based on the way we're doing it. But anyway, so we're doing git checkout -b, and the first thing I want to do is I want to add to the documentation semantic versioning. It's not really necessary to do in this use case because we're not really adding any code, but we're doing it because I want an excuse to do a PR, a branch, and tag, okay? So we typed in git checkout -b. And so now that we have git checkout -b, we're going to name the branch. Generally, what you do is you create a ticket and then you name the branch after the feature. So what we should be doing is we should be creating an issue. And I mean, we can do it for fun. And so I'll go here and I'm just going to say add semantic versioning documentation to project. So we just want to document in the project semantic versioning. And the reason why it's important to create that ticket is that it's going to give us a number. And so when we have a number, we now know what we can name our branch. So we can put 1 underscore, and I'm going to put semantic versioning. And that will check out our branch. So now we have our branch. And notice here that it should switch over here as well. So we'll be pushing to that branch now. So to actually push that branch, we're going to type in git push. And what's going to happen is you're going to get this. This always happens for a new branch. It's saying, hey, there's no upstream. You have to set the upstream. Whatever that means is you simply copy this. I'm doing Control-C on my keyboard. And then right-click. Notice this pops up in Gitpod, so I'm going to give it allow. This happens with the clipboard quite a bit. You're going to see me complain about the clipboard a lot, especially with VS Code and browsers on Windows because it's a headache. Anyway, we're going to paste that in, hit enter, and so that's going to push that branch. We're going to make our way back over to GitHub, and we're going to see that the branch now exists. So there is our branch. And yeah, it's important to try to match the branch with the number or the letter, here, but we can go back here and we don't necessarily have to, we could, but it just keeps things a lot more organized if we do. So anyway, what I want to do is I want to add some documentation here. So we're going to go over to the README and we're going to call this semantic versioning. So I'm going to go here and just type in semantic versioning. And I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this section here. Okay. And we're going to make this into a list. And I'm going to just bold these for fun. Okay, and I'm just going to change this a little bit. So I'm going to say this project is going to utilize semantic versioning for its tagging. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab this page. And I will put this here. So the idea is that if people want to learn more about this, they can go there. If we want to preview this in Gitpod, or this is just VS Code, there is a button up here. We are going to click it. It's going to give us a preview so we can see what it is that we are doing. I'm not sure why there's a line there. I don't think it really matters, but probably just what has changed. So this project is going to utilize semantic versioning, and we're going to, okay, the format will be this. And I'm going to just say, as an example, e.g. 1.0.1, something like that, right? And so that will indicate what that is. I'm going to use backticks here just to make it look a bit nice and more like programmatic. There we go. Okay, so we have specified this. Now, in some projects, they like to put a V in front of the one, or the first letter, the major. In others, they do not. So like when we're going to look at Terraform providers at some point in this course, you're going to notice that they have a V in front of it. Some projects do not. I prefer not to have the V. I don't like stressing out trying to figure out if the V is there or not. If there's an argument for the V, I'm not sure. In this document, I'm not sure if they make it optional or not. The version V1 is V1 semantic. No, V123 is not semantic version. However, prefixing a semantic version of V is a common way. So it happens a lot. Apparently, it's not considered semantic for semantic versioning, but I don't do it because I'm just tired of not knowing when there's a V, so I've decided never to use it. So now we have our code here, and we are ready to commit it. Now, I want to just tell you in VS Code, and especially with VS Code and Gitpod, sometimes this thing doesn't work as expected. It generally does, but it doesn't always. And so you might have to sometimes use the terminal down below here, doing git, git push, git commit, git add plus. So it's kind of important to have those skills here in case this is not working as expected. Also notice that this button is now appearing up here. It's the open graph view. So just opening that up. This will allow us to visualize and see where our versions are, our branches are, and things like that. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add the README. So it went from changes to stage changes. This is the stuff that will get committed, and I'm going to want to write a commit message here. So I'm going to add documentation for the semantic versioning. I'm going to go ahead and hit commit. Okay, and so now I can sync those changes by doing a git push. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, and now notice that this is one branch ahead, or sorry, one commit ahead of main. So main does not have it, and it's now over here. And so if we just, I don't know if there's a way to refresh this. I'm just going to close it and keep opening it up. And so now notice that origin one semantics up here, because notice there is main and origin main. Main is on your local machine. Origin is what GitHub has on it. Same thing with branches. So we've pushed that branch, and now I want to tag it. So I'm going to go and type in git tag, and we're going to do 0 because, yeah, this is my preference, but we have yet to make this project complete for consumption. So I'm going to have it 0. I'm going to do 1 dot and 0. Okay, because we've made a minor change. It's not a patch. So we'll go ahead and hit enter. And so now that tag is there. I know we don't see it there just yet. And I'm going to do git push -- tags. Okay, and so now it says the tag has been pushed. We can go back over here. And sorry, my throat's just closing up on me here. And we'll go ahead and refresh this here. We're going to drop this down. And you can see we have the tag 010 branches, one semantic versioning. Why are we doing this? Because you would generally do this in a real project. But the other part of it is that, you know, when I'm grading, it's very easy for me to go and jump to the tagged or branch version. And it's also going to be great for you to go and see code in isolate so we can make sense of stuff. Generally, tagging will happen after you merge a branch or bring a PR into the main branch. So we are kind of tagging out of order, which is totally fine. I don't think that's going to matter too much, but we'll go back over here because now we've pushed it, and I'm just going to go here and open this up again because it should show us the tag. So we can see the tag is here, but notice that it's not on main. So this whole thing is on its own little line here. We want to bring that into main. And the way we're going to do that is by doing a PR. So we're going to go ahead and go to the pull request. There is this button here, but it's not always reliable. So I go up to the pull request here. Oh, you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to tag the issue in the ticket. That's what I wanted to do, and we didn't do it. So what I'm going to do, this is total junk, and it sometimes happens, but I'm just going to add an exclamation mark here. Actually, I'm going to add a mage for fun. It'll be a little wizard emoji, and it's just because I want to tag this with the issue. So I'm going to say add mage to semantic versioning. And the reason I'm doing that is I want GitHub to pick that up. So if I do that and sync the changes and we go back over to our code rebase, it should pull it up in here. If I go here, notice here it says add mage to semantic versioning. So by having that number here, we can do that. I thought there was a way to like associate branches to tickets. Let me just go find out quickly. I'm not sure, but I just noticed over here that there is a create a branch for this issue ticket, which is interesting. So maybe GitHub relies on a particular name. The reason I don't know is because when you are working in projects, you might not be using GitHub. You might be using Bitbucket. You might be using GitLab, and their requirements to link things are a little bit different. But I'm just curious. I'm going to go ahead and click this and see what it does. So it did do the one, but it matched the name exactly. So that's kind of interesting. So what I'm going to do, I know this is some backpedaling here, but I'm going to go ahead and copy this code. Okay, I'm just going to place it in a notepad. So I'm just opening notepad on my computer here. Okay. And what I want to do is go back over here because I'm just trying to build a workflow for us that's going to be convenient. And I'm going to go back here and try this again. So I'm going to go say create a branch. Check out locally, open in code. Yeah, just locally would be fine. Okay. And yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to just copy this here. We might not have to delete that other branch, but anyway, we'll go back over here and I'm going to type in clear, git checkout. I'm going to paste that in there. Oh, it gave me the whole link there. I don't need it get checkout twice. I'm going to hit enter. Git pull. Sometimes it doesn't know about, yeah, now it has the branch. So now we'll check it out. Git checkout. Git checkout. T on the end there. Okay, so now we are in that branch down there. And by the way, if you're wondering where this stuff comes from, because if you're using Gitpod, this stuff's built in. But normally Bash, and we're using Bash the way we know is if we drop it down here, we can see Bash is the first option, and this is what they're using. But Bash doesn't necessarily show and style things like this. I'm just telling you this if you're not familiar with Bash and the programming side of it. But what you can do is you can get like pretty Bash. It's probably like oh my Bash. So what I want, oh my Bash is probably one of them. So this is one tool that you can use. It's like a single line install that, I don't know if Gitpod's using it. They might be, but you run this one line and then you'll get all this nice formatting and styling. It'll show you the branch. It'll show you, other things. There's other ones besides this one, but I'm just saying that if you're not using Gitpod for whatever reason in this course, you might be interested in that because you want to keep on top of what branch you're in. I have some simple scripts because I've been around for so long that I don't use the fancier ones. I just have scripts that I maintain for the last, I don't know, whenever Git came out. But anyway, so we have this branch here, and I just want to go see where it's at. I don't really know what it branched off of, so I'm going to go over here. And this one's on main. So what I'll do, this is a bit dirty, but I'm going to merge this branch into the other one. So I'm going to go and say git checkout, or I'm going to say git merge one semantic versioning here. Okay. And I'm just going to do a git push. And so I want to go back over here to the project. I just want to see that it's associated with that. And why does this matter? Well, if you are working with a director of engineering or a CTO or other team members, it's really useful to be able to go back and find where things are, exactly the branch, exactly the commit, because they can check out that branch and know that it's a particular feature and it's isolate. So that is a good practice that we'll try to do through here. And so now this is merged. This other branch is junk, so I'm going to go the old one, right? This one's over here. I just want to make sure I push this here. And this is 10010 over here. Origin's down here. So I don't always trust this graph, so I'm just going to keep opening it up. And we'll go back here and try this again. Yeah, there we go. There's probably some refresh button. I just don't know what it is. We'll go back over here to our code. I'm going to go over to our branches here. And we'll go ahead and get rid of this one. Now, I honestly prefer the shorter branch name, so we just have to be careful when we name those issues for that pattern. So I'm going to go here and delete this old one. And so anyway, now we're in better shape. We're back into shape here. Just notice that the tagging is over here on 010, and here we obviously just included that mage, which is totally fine. I guess we could have tagged this as 0111. And I'm just going to do that for fun. Git tag 011. And again, I don't know if it shows up here. It does. Okay, but it's not pushed yet. And there's no indication that it's pushed. The only way you're going to know is if you go over here, over to issues, give it a second to load. We drop it down, go to tags. Yeah, so it's not pushed yet, so we'll have to do git push tags. If you close your Gitpod environment, you're not going to get that tag back, so just be careful with that. And so we'll go back over here, and we will go ahead and refresh. But normally the way tagging works is that tagging might occur at the time of a PR. So a lot of systems will automate that part. So like you'll create a pull request, which we'll find out about. Someone will review it. They'll decide that it's good, and when it gets merged into main, or maybe your production branch, whatever you have, then it will get the tag applied. We're going to do it out of order because it's just a little bit too much work to do it that way. And we're not setting up any kind of automation like that, so we're just going to live with that, and that should be fine. But anyway, our main is still not in sync here. If you go here, we do not see that documentation. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to pull requests, and I'm going to create a new pull request here. And we want to bring in our feature branch, so this one here, 1, into main. Okay, that's the direction that it's going to merge into. We're going to go ahead and create that pull request. And so here we would describe what it is that we did. So we'd say, we added documentation for semantic versioning. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create that pull request. In a project, you'd have reviewers assigned. You're not supposed to commit or merge, bring in your own PRs, because that means that you're self-signing off on it. No one's checking over. But because of the way this bootcamp's structured, you're going to be doing that. Just pretend that somebody else looked it over. But anyway, if we go down here, we have merge pull request, and we have a few other options. So create a merge and commit. That means that it's going to bring in all of these. If you are working on a project and you're making lots of changes, you might have like 20, 30, 40 commits in that branch. But generally, you want to condense them all into one to make things a bit cleaner. So here we have create a merge commit. All commits from this branch will be added to the base branch. I kind of want to merge those two together. So the two commits of this branch will be combined into one commit to the base branch. That sounds really good. The two commits from this branch will be rebased and added to the base branch. So rebasing is pretty cool too. That's a more complex way of squashing stuff or reworking the order of things. But I'm just going to go ahead and squash and merge it. I'm not sure what we'll stick with. I think we'll probably try to do the squash and merge because we want to cut down on those commit messages. Okay. And we'll say confirm and squash. Okay. And often what will happen is we're not going to do this. I don't want you deleting your branches, but in a real project, you may have to delete your branch right away after it's been accepted in, or someone else will delete it, or they'll get deleted after a period of time because that stuff can add up really quickly when you're in larger teams. For us, we want to keep our branches around. They're going to be points of inspection for myself if I have to, for whatever reason, go into your repo, and it's going to give a good history of that what you're doing. But think about that tag that we did earlier. So if I go back here and we'll do a git fetch, that kind of refreshes the tree here. And I don't know how to refresh this. I wish there was a button here. If anyone knows, oh, it's over here. It's hidden. So we still have that history here, right? But now it only shows one commit here. So that's really nice. So we'll go back over to our code here. We'll look at our commit messages. And so the idea is that we're going to have something a lot cleaner, but this is what we should be tagging on. So we'll probably, what we'll do, we'll tag after we do in the PR. We won't do what I did, okay? Because we want to try to make this nice and clean. But yeah, hopefully that gets you an idea of the flow. Another thing is that branches can be automatically deleted after they're merged. The other thing, tagging could be automated, and then deployments can be automated. So a lot of stuff can happen in these systems that are automated, but that's kind of out of scope. I just want to get you into habits of PRs, branches, and tagging, and that is great. So we're done for this video. So what we're going to do is we're going to stop our environment. When you're using Gitpod, GitHub Codespaces, whatever Google's one is called, IDX or something, or Cloud9, whatever, AWS's, shut these things down. These things generally will shut down on their own after a bit, but they can sometimes run for 30 minutes extra, 40 minutes extra. Sometimes you might have a tab open and your computer never goes to sleep and it just continuously runs. Don't run out your free tiers on these. And just understand that if you don't close it this way and you open another one, you might be running two concurrently at the same time, burning through your credits twice as fast. So we'll go ahead and always at the top here, go stop workspace. If you forget to do that ever, you can pop over to gitpod.io and go to your dashboard and make sure you shut it down from here. Okay, I know this one is shutting down if I refresh it. Okay, it should be shutting down. If you're not confident, you can go ahead and hit stop. But the thing is if you forget to, if you find that your commit content did not make it in here, you can always relaunch up Gitpod over here. If you just start it up again, sorry, like if you have one that's not starting anymore, you can go here and open it and start up an old one. You'll notice there's changes there that you left over there. You do not have to delete these. There's no point in deleting these workspaces. They will delete on their own because you have a limit of 50, and they'll delete after 14 days. So never delete them. And just make sure that your commits make it over to there so you don't have to backpedal. It might happen to you once and you'll learn your lesson. But yeah, there we go. So we have our first documentation. But yeah, we're going to be doing tagging, branching, PRs, documentation, all the other stuff around this, and we'll try to stay feature branch focused, okay? We'll see you in the next one. Ciao.